even the most geeky mathematician extremely happy.
And Carmel Dodd Superfan, I have no idea where King Bong is. I was hoping that we could entrust you to that. We'd love to see a return of one of our other favorite Scrabble groupies from last year.
So Joey made an interesting choice. He decided to play off 3 consonants early in the game, which might be a bit worrisome because there's so many vowels in general in Scrabble, and early in the game there is a statistical likelihood of picking up more vowels. But we see that Nigel played IE, so Joey knows already that he's got a mittful and maybe not as great a likelihood of picking up a lot of vowels, and he did pretty well there. Now that's an interesting choice, and I'll tell you why. It's fine to hook the Y onto and to triple it both ways, absolutely fine. But Yao has an anagram, Y-O-W-E, which some might think would be possibly less volatile than sticking that O there. What do you think, Conrad?
I think in a sense, this is slightly more volatile in that a bingo may score more points, but because the W isn't going to get tripled every time, on average it might score a bit less, but I think you're seeing the volatility here where with an M and an E and a Z and a Z. And
oh, he did that for me.
Yeah.
I'm Canadian, so you're going to hear a lot of Zs today, and you're just going to have to deal with it. Sorry. So I think the reason why this is far more volatile is that W only takes an E or an O after it, whereas O takes a mittful of letters. So what if you have I's and A's on your rack and you can't even go next to the W? There's a greater chance of that happening than not having something that goes next to an O. It's almost completely impossible not to have something that will go next to that O. So Nigel made an interesting choice, and you're going to be hearing this the entire time that we annotate. Nigel is like, what? We often don't quite understand why he does what he does.
And yeah, we will try to figure it out. Sometimes we'll have an idea. Sometimes we will just sound like idiots, and you can tell us that. Tell us what you think, and we'll try our best.
And I'm going to ask our lovely quackler. We have the lovely Miss Sarah today with us. Hello, Sarah. Hello. And I'm going to ask you to try to put the letters in alphabetical order if you can.
They are.
Not on my screen.
Oh, I thought it automatically did.
Yeah, I think there's a setting for you to do that.
Sorry. Yesterday it was all going automatically.
It was all going automatically. So bear with us, people. We're going to have a little bit of growing pains in the first round or two. We might be talking to people here in the studio with us. And we actually welcome you to give us your feedback about what you're seeing. If there's something you like, please let us know. If there's something you don't like, let us know, and we might be able to fix it to your liking as the day goes on.
But you're stuck with us. So.
Thanks first or last.
Yeah.
All right. So Nigel has not done his usual of picking 3 bingos straight in a row. For people who don't know what a bingo is, I'm not sure what the level in our audience is, so we're going to be talking to people who are really knowledgeable at Scrabble and some who aren't. So please bear with us. We're trying to accommodate everybody. So in Scrabble, do you know the reason why we call it a bingo?
It's what was just written in the rules.
Really?
Yeah, and I think in the rules made by Mattel, I don't know if I can say that word, no, made by Mattel, it says bonus. And that's why they call them bonuses throughout the world.
Yeah, so we call them bingos here. And often by this point in the game, Nigel, actually I was going to say he scored a lot, but he's actually struggled in a lot of the games that I've been able to watch of his. He struggled in the beginning with some very heavy racks, either all consonants or all vowels, but somehow miraculously the ship rights itself, and he ends up typically winning the game.
So USC will be happy to know we are actually downstairs in a different room this year. I might snort into the microphone a little bit too much, but beyond that, we can be noisier, and there's less background noise.
I can move my microphone closer to my... There we go. Oh, yeah, now I can hear myself, too.
And Aaron, I would love to show more pictures of my hat. Thank you. Maybe it'll turn into a meme or something.
You'll have to explain what it is at some point, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just being like a hipster designer tool, something or other.
So DSN is designer?
It's a design and manufacturing shop in Austin, Texas.
Okay, so
Some
the
of-
MF isn't what
no, it's
no.
MFG is in manufacturing. It's a fabrication shop. They do some really cool shit. So I don't know if anyone sees the very large bingo here for Joey. I assume he won't make a mistake here, if you catch my drift.
One of the things that we'll be doing is asking you not to use computer programs to shout out answers. Anyone could look up an answer on a computer. What's far more fun is if you actually pretend you're actually sitting at the board without a dictionary available to you, and you can look, like not as intelligent as you would like to look. I'm gonna often make mistakes, and I transposed or I didn't read the right letters right, or I thought there was a bingo there that wasn't. So we're all in it together. Let's try to do this legitimately and pretend that we're sitting across the board. Now we know that fire takes an R. So one strategy would be for Joey to, it also takes the S obviously, and it takes a D. One strategy for Joey would be to try to find a word that not only hooks the fire with either the R or the S, but then triples that F, preferably the G, not as preferably, but you're always trying to maximize your score. You have to determine, I'm going to be opening up a triple lane by playing along that line 14 that you can see at the bottom. Is it worth it? Am I going to get enough points that what I'm going to give back is going to be worth it?
As a result, though, I think we're seeing Joey's just made a fairly big gaffe. Since
I think so too. I mean,
gaffers was the best play.
Yeah, and there you go. So that's exactly. I got the strategy, he got the word. That's why we're your team today.
Well, I trust you to find the words when it counts, but I think this is kind of a fairly common theme you'll see a lot, where Nigel will never miss any plays like this. So it's really actually quite surprising that he did. It's not a hard word. It's something he would know. And then a pretty sweet play from Nigel coming back with Meserion. It's
very, very nice.
A lot of points. How about 57? Yeah, 57. I like that number.
Now, that's something that I often see among earlier players, Conrad, people who are just learning the game, and I see them extending words a lot, and they find that to be very satisfying. It's not something we tend to do as often in Scrabble. It's something that we're looking forward to make the cute play, but in this case, it's entirely worth it, considering Mies is worth 15 points just on its own.
Well, I think the best play of the tournament was one of these that happened in Division 2 a couple days ago. Ology was on the board, and the opponent extended it with astrobiology as a bingo. So, one up me, one up anything I haven't seen, or that I have seen in a long time.
Well, I would be remiss then in not commending one of our co-presidents, John Chu, who extended my uterine to extrauterine at a Canadian championship or a club championship.
Yeah. The word that was missed was gaffers, Gaffers. That would be like, one who makes a gaff or a mistake, I'm assuming. So it was kind of
we were supposed to be getting definitions. Is that going to happen today? It's coming. It's coming. Oh, my goodness. We don't want to give you all of our great stuff right away.
Yeah, we're hoping we are new and improved from last year. Now we're, it's a growing process, 1 year at a time.
So here's an interesting situation. Number one, Nigel actually put the bingo on his rack in order, which I don't know that I know him to do that.
Yeah.
But he had it before by sticking the O over I in Isley. O-I is a word. But now Joey has given him a place to play it underneath jive, but then he opens up a triple down row A. So my hunch is he's going to play it there on 14.
I think so. Well, Aaron, tell me how I was wrong. That's just what I thought it meant, but I just know the words exist. I don't know what they mean. It's a math game, man.
Yeah, guys, if you want to come up with definitions for us before we get our definition. Yeah.
It's a type of tape.
What's a type of tape?
There you go.
But apparently in Ziziva it's defined as an old man. So, welcome to Scrabble.
There we go. As expected, he's playing it along row 14. He's responding with Joey's bingo with another of his own. And some people might have said, wow, Joey, why did you play jive there? You're opening up the double letter down to the triple. But, Joey's got another bingo, but
Yeah.
sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get. He had such a heavy rack with CHJV. He had to get rid of 2 of them, and preferably the V and the J. So that's what he did. But look what he picked up right away.
Oh yeah, Aaron, I have heard that before. You're right. I wouldn't have thought of that, but
Multi-talented man. Is that you, Rasha? Okay, good to know. You learn a lot about a person by the name he calls himself.
so it's like Aaron, for example. He does physics for a living. Who would have guessed?
I'll be giving you updates on the Collins game, CSW. We have 2 crackerjack players. Evan Borofsky is an ex-Canadian who now lives in Michigan. And he is just tearing through the field. I think he's up by 2 games.
He's up by 2 games. And yeah, I think for those of you who are joining us for the first time or don't remember, there are 2 dictionaries used in Scrabble based on the trademark holders, be it Hasbro, and who works with Merriam-Webster in the U.S., as well as HarperCollins, who works with Mattel worldwide. So when we refer to CSW, we're referring to the International Lexicon, which is also represented here. But the game you're seeing right now is the word list, similar to the official Scrabble Players Dictionary, which many of you are probably familiar with. So far, this is a pretty solid game. It's pretty classic Nigel, where you draw a bunch of bingos. Giraffes, Arnado. Now he's sitting on another one with urinate, and a few other things.
Oh my goodness! Look who he's picking.
And
wow.
he's basically losing.
That's right. I don't know how well, Mazirion was really. Sometimes he picks like magic, and we go, God, how does he do it every single time? But you know what? Just before all that magic happens, he often makes a play that just it's like the tile gods go, and it was good.
Yeah.
And then they just reward him for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I guess Weibin here is right. Joey is actually kind of winning by a fair bit after he bingos again, but you would still think...
oh, we weren't updated.
Yeah, we weren't updated, but
there
still shockingly close for what you might expect at this point in time.
So through the sea, it's anuretic.
Kebab would have been a good play, but apparently spell with an A, it's an even better play in this case. Good find, though. Tasty find.
And here he comes down the anuretic. He's not even going with anything else. It's these are what we call 1-pointer tiles, right? All the tiles on Joey's rack are worth 1 point. These are the bread and butter of any Scrabble player. When you start playing and you start studying in earnest, this is what you study. This was a retina rack.
Yeah, it's a very high probability, and I think you're going to see Nigel wow us with his not so high probability bingos in a sec here.
So through that L, Joey had Antlier, more Antli,
Yeah.
and Retinula and Tenurial.
I think he would have considered maybe sacrificing a couple of points there. As it turns out, it would have worked out even worse for him. But unless I'm making up words.
But I think it was the wrong choice to do anuretic, and I think now we're seeing 2 mistakes with Joey with the bingos because he has put that A next to the triple letter with the X unseen and the E as well underneath it. He's opened up 2 very big spots for X's.
But since we knew Nigel had apodoses coming, well, I don't know how many of you knew that. I still have a little bit of Scrabble game left in me. So I knew it was coming, but if he had played Antlier through the L, apodosis would have scored. It would have been a double-double. Would have hit 2 double word scores at once. So,
But
well, welcome, multi-talented man.
If he had played Tenurial, he wouldn't have gotten the bingo at all.
True. Welcome, multi-talented man. Thanks for showing up. Feel free to reach out if you've got any questions, but we'll be here all day today and part of tomorrow.
The clock got moved, so it's hard to see. Oh, dear. We'll take care of that. Want everybody to understand that, well, I think you can kind of figure out whose turn it is by the fact that their clock is running down. But just in case, for whatever reason, you don't see that, you can see you see 14, 47, 46 right now. You'll see there's a red light over the numbers, and that will tell you that it is that person's turn as well. Thanks for letting us know that the clock was a little bit moved. That's very helpful for us. Sometimes we don't get to see that as well.
I love that we've already got a fairly worldwide audience here. I see Hubert Wee, I think a multinational champion from Singapore. Correct me if I'm wrong, Hubert. But also Weibin, also from Singapore, who's won all sorts of things over the years as well. Good to see you guys here. Guess you guys are... I guess we're on the East Coast, so it's actually a reasonable hour there. How does Nigel draw so well? I don't know. In fairness, he has not won nationals since 2013. I think we might have the longest streak of anyone, of any country.
We have our first definition. Obviously, what was played was the plural.
Yeah. So we tried to listen to some of the feedback you guys gave us last year, and slowly but surely we're working on some cool stuff. So we should be able to show you some cool definitions this year, and hopefully elucidate some of the craziness that is the Scrabble dictionary.
So that's very interesting that Joey played hop, because he has a really fabulous Q word without a U, which is QOPH. It scores a ton. But look at this board. There are 3 U's open, 2 of them next to double word scores. So Joey has absolutely no need to hope to play cough somewhere to find a place for it or set up a place for it, because he can easily use that Q, the U's, anywhere on the board.
Now, if any of you are drinking right now, I think you should think about and consider Joey Malick's tiles and think about what his next play might be.
If this is an alcohol-related word, I'm completely not going to get it.
I think you know the word.
Oh, liquored. oh, he's got liquored. I thought there was, like a cute brand name or something.
Nah.
Yeah. He's got liquored. You see how that worked out? You see?
But we'll see. I don't think it's going to get taken.
No, he's got 2 places.
If it's
They're kind of close to each other,
no,
but
it only...
yeah, so he won't get the better one because, that's just how it works.
It doesn't fit in the other spot. Like, Nigel just intuited that he
Why not? Down here.
No, it doesn't fit.
Q-U-O.
Liquoredn.
You're right.
So, this is part of what it takes to win a Scrabble tournament, is that kind of, great timing. I mean, it was also a great play.
Intuition and...
just for some context here, there was liquored, Liquored, which I don't think I need to define for you guys. And it was blocked by Nigel's play because Odad is not a word.
To give you an update on the CSW
whatever.
game, with Dave Wiegand playing Evan Borofsky, it is Evan Borofsky 206 to Dave Wiegand's 153. Evan having played Dooming, although apparently the best play was Moondog. Moondog. He also had the opportunity to actually use both blanks without bingoing. He could have played Tosing, making the blank an O. He hit both of them, an O and an I, down to the triple for 79 points. Decided instead to play Yuts. So that brings up the discussion of how much is a blank worth. And we often say a blank is worth 40 points. If you can get 40 points by playing it more than you can for any other play, it's worth playing. In this case, he would have used both blanks. But the argument could be made he's going to bingo on the next turn using both blanks anyhow. So why not get the 79? Because sometimes you'll use both blanks and you'll get 62 points, and it's just crying shame.
Yeah, it's too much of a good thing. There is a such thing as too much of a good thing in Scrabble. The benefit is always just that your opponent doesn't have that good thing. Interesting play here for Joey. For those of you who want to look for a kind of a cool play here, an interesting debate between his top 2 plays. I didn't even know one of the words because I believe it was added in 2014, but I suspect Joey's going to play quad for 32, which he is. Turns out he had quadlin through the other U, or doiled, D-O-I-L-E-D, which I think means crazy, or maybe I'm just crazy, and that would have scored a ton of points.
So I think we can go back to the tile tracking now, once we get a definition up. Tile tracking is really important, especially as the game's going on. That's a new feature that the beloved Rashad has put for us this year, so a big round of applause for putting up reminding tiles. We have scores, we have the clock, we have clear views of the racks. I think we've come a long way since our early days.
Yeah. And so there were 8 tiles in the bag. Now there are 5 tiles remaining in the bag. And it's looking good for Joey at the moment. He may be able to temporarily stop Nigel for a bit. The score is currently 409 for Joey, 348 for Nigel. That should be updating in a sec. So 409. This is not the best timing for a rack like this for Nigel. Looks like he's going to play gag down at the bottom. Really, Nigel's just kind of going for what we would call an out bingo.
So Sarah, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to go up to Quackle and hit Ask Championship Player.
I have been.
You've been doing that?
Every single time.
Excellent. Fabulous. Oh, that's why the answers are changing. Perfect. Good. Whew, we got a fly in here. I can't afford to get bit again, I think. I have no more. I got bit 2 days ago and my whole leg blew up. So if I get bit up again, I think I don't have any more real estate to get blown up. Interestingly put, Carmel. I think that's a compliment.
I think that's just a wonderful, wonderful compliment from our, well, I don't know if we can count ourselves as Carmel Dud Superfans #1 fan, but, you know, we're hanging in there.
Well, I do like cats, so I'm sure that's all she meant.
Yeah. We have lots of cats here. Meow. Yeah, I'm perfectly happy without a bunch of meme cascades going on at, what time is it? 9:35. I'm from the West Coast, so it feels like it's 6 a.m. probably.
All right, so somebody's asking about the punishment for making a false word, a phony word on the board. So it's a bit of a complicated answer because we're using two different sets of rules. In this particular game, the onus is on the player to get the word correct. If Joey plays right now a word that is incorrect and Nigel chooses to challenge it, they will go to the dictionary, they will be shown that the word is incorrect. Joey will take the tiles off the board and he will lose his turn. And then it will be Nigel's turn. In Colin's play, the onus is on the challenger to get it correct because there's only a 5-point penalty for getting it wrong. You do take your tiles off, but you only lose 5 points. You get to play. You don't get to. I mean, sorry. If the word turns out to be good, and you don't lose your turn, then you lose 5 points, but you get to your play right away. You can't. When you play somebody like Nigel, when you get to this level, you really can't afford to lose a turn. Even one lost turn could cost you the entire game. So it's a bit more forgiving in Colin's play. And they have a much larger dictionary, so to some extent it's actually a godsend because it's just impossible to know all the words.
Yeah, people usually just say hold before they challenge a word, but it can be kind of fun when people, this is at Doom Sakura, basically you can be very animated in the way that you challenge words. Had a few people be like, oh, get that shit off the board or something.
So everybody can see that Joey has diluter on his rack. I don't know that he only has the U to play. Well, he's got URET in anuretic to play through and the MU in mulches. That's about it and the F in giraffes. So that's about it.
Yeah. I think the thing to keep in mind is that the blank and the X are both unseen to Joey. So I think really what he's thinking is how can I block that whole left side of the board? And especially also considering that XI spot next to EX and TI in the middle left of the board.
How do we decide what boards to use? 18 USC. The board looks different. I don't know. These are supplied by our sponsor, right? By Hasbro, I think. I don't think that's anybody's private board.
I don't know. I think someone just put the board out.
It might be a private board?
The actual sponsor boards are too shiny.
Yeah.
Let me hear you.
Maybe we might be able
I don't know if you can hear Rashad talking.
to. There's something that
Okay, so he feels that the boards are a little too shiny, so this might be a sponsor-supplied board. And the tiles are what we call pro tiles. So if you buy a game in the store, you're going to find that your tiles are, for the most part, wood, and they are grooved, so you can feel what the letter actually is. We call that brailleable. And we have a rule now that you can't use those tiles. You have to use these pro tiles, which are silk screened. You can't feel what the letter is. You can't run your finger along it and surmise that it's, let's say, an I or an L or an X. And when you turn it over, it's actually empty on the other side. So you can't actually pretend that a tile is a blank. And also, if you see in the second F in giraffes, there's actually a logo on there, and that's a great way to let the person know that it's actually a blank. So in your games, you're going to just have a blank tile. It's just going to be empty. In ours, there's always going to be some sort of cute logo or a picture or something, and that is to know that you can't pretend that you have a blank. You can't just turn it over and pretend that you have a blank.
Yeah, so like people don't actually look at the board completely straight, and I think for our abilities right now to capture that and adjust it, this is kind of just how it's like in real life. So there are a couple of people who are blind who play Scrabble. They will usually have someone who draws tiles for them, and it's always worked out just fine. I think there's just a certain set of rules we have where you have to tell the person who's drawing for you and keeping track of score for you what to do, but it has definitely happened. I don't think we have anyone at this tournament with visual impairment, but it's in the rules for sure.
So right now the championship player is suggesting that Joey simply dump the U to play Vug along row I, and the rack leave, and we'll talk about that as the day goes on. We'll talk about what rack leave is, and you want to balance your rack as much as possible in order to improve the possibility that you're going to bingo. But what Joey has decided to do in this case is to, even though there's 3 T's on scene and he's kept a T, so I wonder why maybe perhaps he should have played Trude instead of ruled. He's decided to block Nigel, and that's the Nigel effect, because there's always the worry that he's going to find a bingo.
Yeah, but I mean, he successfully blocked everything.
Yeah.
And it's going to be good enough to win the game, it looks like.
He didn't block the U, and if we can turn the board around, in Anuretic, he didn't block the OX play or AX play for Nigel, which will score enough, but Joey's always going to be 20 points ahead, and then it's going to be his turn again. So
yeah. Well, I think that was his goal. I think he has to concede the fact that if there's something from the K he doesn't see,
he's going to play.
That could be the game.
He's going to play Toxin for a lot.
The tile next to Joey's N is a blank on one side and a T on the other side. He has EINT blank and multiple places to play them, like a kitten or something.
Yeah. So Joey's going to play out right now, and the game is over, or he can play timer.
Hat! Define hat. Hat has been defined. Hat!
Let's get a...
Oh, it's Sam Rosen. Hello, Sam Rosen. You're a wonderful person. Everyone, please say hi to Sam Rosen. That's
hi,
all
Sam
I got.
Rosen.
Hat!
So it looks like the magic is continuing with Evan on the other game. After playing Dooming for 88, he got to play Jowl, parallel to Dave Wiegand's bingo of Caesarian for 51 points, and then immediately played Danglers. But even more impressive, Dave, in between those two plays, played Puparial. So you're seeing 2 guys with incredible word knowledge. But by playing Puparial, he opened up the triple row, and wouldn't you know it, Evan exactly had the letters he need to play Danglers. So I'll get you a score, as we're almost at the end of this game. Oh, and it's getting really, really tight. So right now, Evan is up 358 to 327 with a rack of AEE, IOTT, and Dave Wiegand. Well, there's still 13 tiles to go. So you know what? This game is not over. David has managed to come back into the game. That Puparial was absolutely stunning. It was natural.
So how big is the Scrabble community? I think it depends on the context of the question. In the U.S. right now, I think it's about 2,500 people. Once you go out into the wider world... So once you go out into the wider world, I think you'll see it gets way up into certainly beyond 10,000 in some countries. I think Thailand, Nigeria, Malaysia, India, Pakistan. You'll see tournaments with 500, 800 people at it. It's pretty incredible. I've had the honor of going to a tournament in Thailand where there's just really good school scenes for Scrabble, both for Scrabble as a math tool as well as Scrabble as learning English as a second language.
What's incredible about a lot of the Thai tournaments is that they hold them in public places, and they often live stream it, and you just cannot imagine the amount of noise there is. There's music, there's people talking, there's people shouting, and everybody's just sitting there as if nothing is there's no sound.
Imagine hearing the song "The Final Countdown" on repeat for an hour, playing Nigel Richards. That was my life at one point, and I loved every moment of it.
No, they take their Scrabble really, really seriously, and you often get royalty, right? Come and
Yeah,
hand out
the
prizes.
princess comes and blesses the tournament.
Oh my
Both
God!
King's Cup and Princess Cup. So it's a pretty incredible thing. But yeah, worldwide, I think competitive play certainly must be over 100,000 at this point. It's definitely larger elsewhere than in the U.S. at this moment, I think. But we basically knew the game was over because we saw all the tiles had been put down, and we also noticed that they'd kind of put out the last tiles on the board. Kind of knew from there.
This being our first break, I'm not exactly sure what we're doing on this first break. If we could be informed of that, or else we'll keep talking.
Over the standings, and we're going to bring interview up.
Okay, we're going to be having, oh my goodness. So this year we're going to be having interviews in between. We're not going to have any dead time and having you come back and we're going to give you updates on the standings. Right now I'm seeing Nigel in first place still because even though he lost, he's at 17-5, and Joey did himself a world of good. So just like in baseball when the two top teams play each other and it's not just a half a game, it's a full game now that's changed. That's what happened here because they were playing